Good afternoon. My name is Sheila Lamb, and I'm with the Virginia SBDC Network. For those of you that are not familiar with our organization, the Virginia Small Business Development Center is a partnership program between the U.S. Small Business Administration, George Mason University, and local host institutions throughout Virginia. With 26 locations across the Commonwealth, we provide training and technical assistance to small businesses in their local communities. Our one-on-one advising services are available at no charge. Today's webinar, AI Fundamentals Playbook Focus AI for Marketing, is presented by the Virginia SBDC Network. It is our second webinar in a brand new monthly series on AI. If you missed our kickoff webinar in June, you can view the recording on our website or join us in September when we will offer it again. And I'll drop both of those links into the chat momentarily. We are recording today's presentation and it will be posted on our website, virginiasbdc.org. Due to the expected large number of participants, everyone's microphone is muted and the chat feature is turned off. But if you have questions during the presentation, you can type those into the Q&A box and we will address them at the end of the session. We have also enabled the live transcript function, which you can show or hide via your own meeting controls. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our presenter for today's session, Lori Zioli, founder and CEO of Explorize AI Advisors, LLC, a people-first AI advisory firm based in Annandale, Virginia. With 27 years of experience in training, technology, and change management, Lori lets business owners stay focused on growing their business while she handles the AI strategy. She builds a comprehensive AI roadmap so they have a clear plan before investing in tools, then works directly with their people to build the skills, and confidence to use AI day to day. The result, a business owner who keeps growing the business while in an engaged, skilled workforce ready in AI becomes a competitive edge in today's AI world. Please join me in welcoming Lori Zioli.
Thank you so much, Sheila, and good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, wherever you are. Actually, Virginia, so good afternoon. This is the second session for the AI Fundamentals series. As Sheila mentioned, the first session that was back in July was the fundamentals of using AI for your business. And so today, we will be deep diving into a focus area, which is AI and marketing. So at this point, I will go ahead and turn off my camera. I just wanted to introduce or reintroduce myself again. And so bear with me as I do the camera turn off, but I hope everybody is ready. Okay, let me just go ahead and share the screen. All right. And so, Sheila, I am going to go ahead and ask you to determine if you can see the screen.
Yes, you're definitely good, Lori.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. Let's dive in. So, for the next 60 minutes, we will be discussing the following concepts: strategies on using AI for your marketing content. We'll take a look at approach on how to use AI on creating compelling, effective marketing materials. And I do have a nice bonus prompt document that I will be giving you. We will explore advantages of chatbots and how we can enhance your business engagement with your customers and streamline the communication with your own customers. Third, we will explore the advantages of CRM, customer relationship management tools, and I will also showcase you the one that I have so you can see it live on how it can transform your business relationships with your customers. And last but not least, we will discuss the AEO, answer engine optimization, so that you can learn how to use your content for AI-driven answer engines and stay ahead of the curve from your competitors. And for this AEO section, I brought in a special guest whose specialty is AEO to make this session more valuable to this audience. So I will hold off on the introduction until that time frame. All right, so let's get to the starting point. Don't start with the AI tool and start with your business problem. What is the business problem that I want to solve using AI? In our fundamentals session, I started it with this question, and this will be the same for all of our sessions. Why? Because this is the starting point for navigating the very noisy AI driven market today. And this has been the key to success for my clients. And I want you to have that same success. So, what exactly does this mean? Apply the concept from the previous slide. So, if your business problem is in marketing, then the next question would not necessarily be, what AI marketing tool should I use? A better approach we found useful is asking, what specific effort, drill down, what specific effort within my marketing activities do I want to solve with AI? And so here is a fun fact: 73% of small businesses globally say they're not confident in their marketing strategy and that it is not working. Content creation, lead generation and nurturing the leads, and also now, more important, online visibility. Those are the top pain points in today's market. So let's dive deep into how AI can help solve these pain points. And the first is establishing your brand. So, what does this mean? As business owners, we are all aware that building a brand is a key foundation. This slide is simply showcasing the two important elements of a branding document. So the left side is the visual branding. What is that? You want to know, you want to have that branding document to have your logo, also the rules for not what to do and what not to do with the logo. You also want to have your color palette. This is your brand, the exact codes, so that your designer, when you put it into a website or when you put it into a template or any printing mechanism, it knows what the right color is for your brand every single time. What's also important are your fonts, meaning what are you going to be using for your headline versus the body text? All of these, the imagery style, the photos, they all come in hand, especially when you're creating documents, templates, proposals, emails, social media content, which I'll go over with you. But this perhaps is one of those areas in a branding document that goes unnoticed, but it is just as powerful as the second half. And what is that? So the second half covers how your brand sounds and what it stands for. For me, it is people first. So every time I have a networking event or a webinar or in my social media, they know that people first is always in my hashtag. So your mission statement, your positioning, that needs to be in your branding document as well. And all of this will come in handy when we go through a quick demo when I use Claude and how all of these elements come into place. So at this point, I'm going to pause. This was a lot. I can't see the chat. So, Sheila, how are we doing in the chat board?
So we don't have questions, but a couple people are saying they can't see the slides. If they log out and log back in, it works. But I'm wondering, Lori, if you don't mind just maybe taking down your slides and try pulling them up again. I mean, I see them and people are
I
seeing
see
them when
them.
they log back
Hmm.
in, but I do have a couple
Okay.
people saying they can't see them.
All right. So let me stop my sharing right now.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Okay. So right now, there's no sharing, and I'm going to go ahead and share again. All right. So I'm going to pause and see how that works with those folks not seeing it.
Okay.
Naveen, are you seeing it? And Sheila, are you seeing it?
Yes, I am.
We are seeing that them. I'm going to ask. Yvette and Elaine, um, if you all see them now, if not, could you please try logging out and logging back in to make sure they come up? That did work for Tom, who was having issues. We think maybe
Okay.
it's just Zoom and Zoom update. Who knows? We just need to
Maybe there are
refresh
two
Zoom
tabs.
sometimes.
Sometimes when you're in a Zoom session, and again, depending on what you have, there are some Zoom interfaces where you have two tabs. One was the original Zoom room that we are in, but sometimes if there is a presentation, there's a second tab. So
Right.
that
And
could
it
be the case.
And it does look like Elaine also logged back out and logged in and it works. So I'm just going to ask anyone who's
Okay.
having trouble with the slides, just please
Yeah.
try logging
Mm.
out and logging back in, and everyone should be good. Yep, everyone that was having issues is good. So I think we're all on board now. Thank you. Other than that, we didn't have any other questions. So you can go ahead, Lori.
Perfect, perfect.
Thank
And
you.
just a quick recap for those of you who didn't see this. You'll see this again in the video and the recording, but basically just make sure that in your branding document, you have the two most important elements, and that is the branding, the visual branding, your logo, your typography, what kind of fonts do you use, your color palettes, all of those are very important. The other half of your branding is you have your mission statement, your positioning, all documented or all presented in your branding document. So, a question that was asked before in a previous presentation is what exactly is a branding document? It's nothing more than a Word or a PDF that has all of the information that I have relayed on this slide. All right, so next go to the next slide. Okay. So once you have your brand document, then you can put that information to work inside your tools immediately. So in a few seconds, I'll be showing you how this looks like in Claude. But I want to preface this with this. When you have your brand document, you can put all of that information in your LLM profile. It will make much more sense when I show this to you. But you can do that. Or for those of you who are familiar with Claude or not familiar with Claude, that's okay. If you use ChatGPT, it's pretty much the same thing. You can put that in your profile. And then you can also start putting it into your library in Claude, in ChatGPT, or project in Claude. This third area that I have over here, the Claude skills, again, it's a little bit more technical, but for those of you who may be using Claude already and are familiar with Claude skills, this is also another venue that you can put your document, your branding document. So, what does this mean? All right, so let me just go ahead and stop sharing because I will now go into Claude. So give me one moment and let me see where Claude is. And all right, now I'm going to be sharing my window. Can you see Claude now?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Oh, it's because I'm not sharing. All right. All right, here we go. Are we good?
Yes.
We're good.
Okay. So for those of you who are familiar with Claude or not familiar with Claude, this is the platform that I use. Yes, you can also use ChatGPT, but I've been a big fan of Claude from the very beginning. Um, so in here, the settings that I'm referring to is when you go into Claude, and of course, this is a subscription, so it may look different, but I want you to see the possibilities. That's all. You go into here and you will go into your settings. And then within your settings, you would have this information under general and instructions for Claude. Yes, I do like Claude calling me boss lady. Under the instructions for Claude, this is actually where my branding information is. So the information that I have from that document, I just copied and pasted it into my instructions, and it has my elevator speech. It has all my methodologies. It also has, oops, I go back in here, my Calendly, everything about me. So remember what we talked about, the visual branding and my positioning and my mission statement, all of those are in here. So that's what I mean. And the beauty for this is that every time I have a new chat with a LLM, in this case, Claude, it will remember this information. And another point that I want to make is this. So again, this isn't too much. I don't want to go too much into technical details, but here's an example where let's say you're using a project and you create a new project in Claude. When you are creating a project in Claude, your information, your branding document, this project will remember the information that you placed into your general profile. In addition, whatever information you want to have for this specific project in your brand, you can add that to your project. What does this mean? So let's just say that my brand is about people first. And here I have a project where, let's say, I am working with uh, a small business owner who owns a law firm. And so in this case, yes, my brand is still people first and my mission statement is still supporting the CEOs and their staff. But what happens if that CEO doesn't have a staff? It's still people first. So I may put it into the information in here that this person does not have a staff, but I want you to continue using the People First brand and to continue, serving the needs for this particular lawyer. But that's how you are creating your brand in LLMs. Is to just have it so that it is easier for all of your chats to remember who you are, and it's also great when you are creating your social media posts so that it is your voice and your brand. So I'm just going to go ahead and cancel that. All right. So that is what I have in terms of the way you would put your branding information into an LLM. All right. Let me go into the next slide. And now I'm going to create another demo. So let me again pause and share this one. Okay. Oh, did I lose you?
We
I
just
can still
lost your,
hear you, but I don't see the slide
yeah.
Okay. All right.
or
So
the
let me
screen.
just find out where you are. Uh-huh. There you are. Okay. So let me just go ahead and discuss this demo that I'm going to share with you. And there's a reason why we do this. So I gave Sheila, and you can see my slide, right?
The 3-minute demo,
Yep,
yes.
perfect. And so I gave Sheila a document that has a prompt that you can use so that you can, instead of creating it from the very beginning, I went ahead and created a prompt for you. You're going to use this prompt to help you create a social media director, uh, give you a set of social media content that you can put to your platform of your choice. So, the first thing I'm going to do is show you what this prompt looks like. And then I'll show you how you can put this into a scheduled cadence within Claude. And then after that, nothing more than giving you the chance to review it. And then I also have information on what online platforms you can use to push your content. All right, so let me go ahead and do this. Stop the sharing. And now I go back into Claude. And I think what I'll just do is just continue sharing that window. I think that's the reason why I did it. So my apologies. All right, so we are back in Claude. Do you see this?
Yes, we
All
do.
right, perfect. And I'm going to keep things moving along. So I have a project within this Virginia SBDC. And here's just something what I want to showcase with you. So I started out with this prompt where And this is the prompt that you're going to get. You're a prompt engineer and you're going to help me build a reusable prompt that uses AI into social media writing content. So the point is, after that, it's going to ask you some questions. I'm not going to go through it um, one by one, but at the end, the output is that now it actually produced the social media content for me right over at the very end. So this is just two, but it has a hook, it has the body, and then it has the call to action. The point is, I have the human in the loop, so me being able to review it first. So now, let's say I like it, that's great. What do I do with it? Well, in Claude, you can also schedule that. So I'm not going to go through it, but you can also schedule these tasks and say, hey, every single Sunday evening, run this same prompt so that I can have five different LinkedIn posts that I can use so that my customers continue to know who I am. And it will also help build my brand awareness. Now, I also mentioned to you that I will give you some examples of two platforms that I use. One is called the Buffer. Now I'm going to share Buffer with you. Do you see Buffer Calendar on your
Yes,
screen?
yes, we do.
Okay. So now you can kind of see what the whole process looks like. I just copied that information and I created a different post. This is back in June. But the point is, those LinkedIn or those outputs that Claude created for you, you can copy and paste it so that you know when they are being posted into your platform. So that's kind of like the 1, 2, 3 step demo that I created for you. Okay. All right, so let me just take all of these back and let's go into our presentation. All righty, bear with me as I go and see the different areas that I have. All right. All right, so those are the two platforms that I recommend you take a look at. There are so many, but I thought it'd be helpful just to give you a head start to just take a look at these two. They're free platforms, and it's always good to just what I am using, so you can take a look at um, what has worked. All right, the next is chatbot, and I love this. So let's just say your marketing area is on nurturing and just having a discussion with your leads. So chatbots, why do they work? One, they're always on. Help you qualify the lead. Help you book the appointment, captures contact information. They're your 24/7 help desk. All right, so now here's a live example of a chatbot. And so here is one. I'm going to move it over. All right, so this is one that I use or I created for this lawyer. Do you see slengland.com?
Yes, we do.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna move right along. So the point is, this is the chatbot that I have. I already did this prior to the session so that it goes, I'm not gonna take too much time. But the point is, I was able to just answer all the questions that this lawyer needed. So pretend I am a lead. So now, how does that work? I'm gonna take this out. And this is what the lead receives. They receive a confirmation email knowing that it confirms what I placed in there. And then the business owner receives a new lead alert in their email, right? Most importantly, that lead information, everything that was captured, it can go straight into a CRM, your customer relationship management tool for nurturing. So that leads me into the next section, which is the customer relationship management CRM tools. So, what does this do? Well, here's an example that I want to showcase with you. Here's what I have. Do you see a new screen that says Industry Rockstar Switzerland?
Yes, it's all good.
Okay, perfect. So this is just an example of my CRM. And what that does is whenever I send an email or let's say a newsletter, you can track, or let's say you're going through a campaign, you can track like what was delivered, opened, but also the engagements. So this is how AI is working for you. You use the chatbot, you use your LLM to create the social media content, you put that into your LinkedIn. You all using the chatbot to capture the information about your leads, you put that into your CRM. You use that information for, say, your newsletters or your lead magnets, and then you track who's converting and who's engaging with you. So kind of like a 1, 2, 3 punch in a way with social media. Excuse me, with AI. All right, so now let's go and move into the next slide. So, what are the advantages of CRM tools? Segmentation. That's what actually targets your customers. Lead scoring, yes, you get your attribution and ROI. The most important section is right here. You can personalize your messages at scale. So, instead of sending emails one on one, every time to different folks, one email, and you can use your CRM to simply use the tag or the information, and it automatically places it in there. All right, so I'm looking at the time and I'm mindful of our next guest. So, actually, perfect timing. I did the live example. So now I am going to go to the next segment, which is your online presence, your AEO. And who better to speak about this than my special guest? His name is Naveen Mittal. He is the founder of Vertex Growth AI, and he has been helping B2B businesses with their visibility, and making sure that customers can see them. But most importantly, now he's helping them be seen in AI searches, not just Google, but AI searches. He is also the author of the AI Visibility Revolution. So I'm going to go ahead and conclude my area and hand it over to Naveen. Naveen, I will stop sharing, and it is yours, my friend.
All right. First of all, thank you, Laurie, for that excellent presentation and giving me the time and opportunity to share with this wonderful crowd. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Sheila, you can see this, correct?
Yes,
I
we
can
can
see
see
it.
it.
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So hi, everyone. Thanks, Laurie, for the introduction. My name is Naveen Mittal. I've spent over the last 25 years working in enterprise technology and product strategy. And for the last couple of years or so, I've been focused entirely on one question. How does a business get noticed when AI, not a search results page, but AI is answering your question first? And that's what I'm going to try to spend the next 20 minutes on: answer engine optimization, or AEO, what it actually is, why it matters for a small business. And because I know a few of you already sent Lori questions about this, what your first step should be and what a schema actually is in plain English. I'll try to keep it less jargony. So let's get into it. So let's start with this, and why this is on the agenda at all to begin with. Roughly 59% of searches today, that's nearly 3 out of 5, end with 0 clicks. The person actually types a question, and either the search page or an AI chatbot just answers it right there. No website visit. For over 25 years, the entire game was get on page one, win the click. That game still matters. It's still the foundation everything else is built on, but it's no longer the whole game. So now there's actually a second, faster moving game, which is layered on top. Does the AI even mention by my business when it answers the question? So, for example, if my prospect or customer asks ChatGPT or Google's AI overview or Claude, for that matter, who's a good, I don't know, plumber near me? Are you even in the conversation? That's exactly why AEO, or answer engine optimization, exists. So let's go ahead and define it properly, right? So here's sort of the plain English definition. AEO is the practice of writing and organizing your content so that when someone asks a question, your business is the answer that gets pulled out and shown, whether that's a box on top of Google or a sentence inside a ChatGPT response or a Claude response. And here's an analogy I often use, right, with pretty much every small business owner I talk to. Imagine a librarian who's never met you. A stranger walks up and asks a very specific question. Now, a great librarian can hand the stranger that exact book open to the exact paragraph in about 10 seconds because the book has a table of contents. It has a clear chapter headings phrased as questions and an index. AEO is making your website read like that well-organized book instead of like a diary entry someone has to read start to finish to find the one useful sentence buried in paragraph number 6. That's it. That's the whole concept. Let's talk about where this actually shows up if you're still with me. So AEO actually shows up in 5 main places. And you've probably seen all of these without knowing there was a name for them. Quickly, three you're definitely seen, the top 3, right? Featured snippets. That's the box about the very first Google result, the single most valuable seat on the page. Then you have voice search, which is, think of Siri or Alexa, one of the devices that you use that read back exactly one answer. There's no page 2 in voice. And AI chatbots directly, like ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, etc., where people just ask, who should I hire for my, fixing my faucet and get a written recommendation. That's the 2 I want to slow down on because people mix these things up. They are not the same thing. So that's the one at the bottom. People also ask on the left hand side, you know, um, those expandable questions you see on a Google search results below the main listings. So I implore you to go and do this on your own later. Just go to Google, search for something, and then scroll down, and you'll see the section called People Also Ask. This, what I'm sharing you, is just a mock up. And they show up at the very top of the page before any traditional, so expandable questions you see at the Google results page below the main listings. Now, as a business owner, this is gold for you because Google is literally handing you the exact questions real customers are typing. So if you search your own industry right now, you'll see this. Right now, on the other hand, AI overviews, that's this one right here, that's Google's own AI written summary shown at the very top of the page before any of the traditional blue links. Built, and that's actually built by pulling several sources at once. Notice what the summary favors. It favors direct, plain language answers with specific details. A service, a city, a credential. That's not an accident. That's the AEO formula in action being rewarded. So, different surfaces, same underlying question. Is your content structured so that a machine can lift out the clean answer? And that leads directly into why this actually matters for your bottom line. So here's why I want you to care about, this beyond, hey, all this sounds interesting. A featured snippet, like I mentioned before, gets roughly 43% click-through rate on average. And so that's the single highest performing spot on a results page, even edging out the traditional number 1 organic listing, which used to be 39.8%. That's before we even talk about AI, right? So brands that get cited inside Google's AI overviews see about 35% more organic clicks and 91% more paid clicks than brands that appear on the same page but aren't cited. That's from a real named study. I put the reference there. Seer Interactive tracked over 3,100 search terms across 42 client organizations and 25 million impressions, all the way from June 2024 through September 2025. And this is the one that you should really get your attention, right? AI referred visitors. These are people who click through from Claude or ChatGPT or Perplexity or even an AI overview, which is becoming the de facto in Google these days. That convert, those visitors actually convert at meaningfully higher rates than typical organic visitors. Now, the exact multiple varies a lot by study from industry, but roughly 4 times up to 9 times in the sources that I checked. And some platform-specific B2B studies report even higher. Now, why this lift? Why are we seeing such a huge lift? It's really because they're not browsing anymore. The AI already did the first round of filtering for them. And by the time they click through to you, they're basically pre-qualified themselves. So this isn't really a vanity project, right? It's about showing up in the moment someone is already handed a shortlist, and being on that shortlist is the game. Okay, so hopefully by now you're convinced it matters. What's the actual first step? This is one of the questions I think Laurie also flagged. So let's answer it directly. I think one of you asked, what's the first step to AEO? And here it is, right? And it's not what people normally expect. The first step is never go fix things. It's actually to go look. You cannot improve a score you haven't measured. So before anyone touches a website, here's the 10-minute zero cost exercise I want each and every one of you to do this week. Step one, write down 5 questions a customer asks, themselves before they even hire you or buy from you. Not keywords, actual questions in plain human language. Step two, type each one down exactly as a customer would into ChatGPT, into Claude, into Google, and into Perplexity if you have access to it. Step three, just take notes. Did your business show up at all? If it did, was the information accurate? Or is the AI saying something outdated or just wrong about you? And if you showed up, were you the first thing mentioned? Or were you buried, 3 sentences down? So here's a line you can literally copy right now, word for word, right? Who's a good, insert your service, in your city, insert your city. What should I look for when choosing one? And then just swap in what you actually do and where you're located. Try it in ChatGPT first, then paste the exact same line into Google and into Perplexity and compare what comes back. You might have heard this term Perplexity from me the first time, but it's another, chat engine, just like Claude and Gemini. So that's your baseline, right? 9 times out of 10, business owners are shocked by what they find. Sometimes they don't appear at all. In fact, side story, Lori also asked my help for this, and I helped her behind the scene. Sometimes the AI is confidently wrong about their hours of services. Either way, now you know where you stand. And everything else we talk about today is closing that gap. So now comes the second question. I know it's coming. What is a schema and why does everyone keep bringing it up? So schema, it's a technical word, I understand. It sometimes scares people and it really shouldn't. Here's the plain English version, no coding involved. Think about a nutrition label on a food packaging, right? So when you go to the grocery market, technically you could figure out a product's calories, its ingredients by reading a paragraph on the side of the box. But it's so much faster and more reliable when there's a standardized label in a fixed format. You know, this can of soup has 240 calories, 8 grams of protein. These are the ingredients listed in order. So a schema is the exact same idea applied to your website. It's a small hidden piece of code you will never see it as a visitor. It's invisible on the page that says in a format machines trust instantly, this is a business. Here's its name, here's its hours, here's a question a customer might ask, and here's the exact correct answer to it. Now, without that label, an AI has to read your whole paragraph and guess what's important, the same way you would have read the whole side of the box to figure out the calorie count instead of just looking at the label. With the label, the machine gets it instantly and correctly. That's genuinely the whole concept, right? You don't need to write it yourself. A web developer or a tool can add it. And honestly, that is exactly the kind of thing an AEO specialist like myself checks and implements for you. So when someone says, "Did you add schema markup?" you'll at least know exactly what they mean and why it matters. Now let's make this more concrete with one simple before and after. So here's the same bakery, right? On the left, this is how small business websites are written today. And honestly, it reads fine, right? To a human, it's warm, it's got personality. But notice the hours are buried in the middle of a sentence vaguely. We are generally open most days, and the gluten-free answer isn't really a yes or a no. It's for those who ask. A machine that's reading this has to guess. And when a machine has to guess, it very often just skips you and cites a competitor who made it easy. Sometimes hallucinates, but hopefully not anymore. Now, on the right, same bakery, same real information, restructured, right? The question is stated plainly. The answer comes immediately after in one clear sentence, exact hours, exact yes, and behind the scenes, that same information also gets the hidden label we just talked about, the schema. So a machine doesn't even have to read the sentence. It can lift the answers straight from the label. Notice what didn't change, the facts. The bakery didn't invent anything new. It just stopped making the AI hunt for information it was happy to give. And that's the whole game in a nutshell, right? So let's turn that into a simple formula you can apply on any page on your site. So here's the formula. Any page on your website starting this afternoon and this evening for a few of you with no developer needed. First part, ask the real question. Turn your heading into an exact question a customer would type. not our services. Instead, something like, do you fix plumbing leaks? Headings phrased as real questions are the single easiest AEO win there is. Part two, and this is the one that takes more practice, answer it in 2 or 3 sentences immediately, right under the heading. Most business owners write the story first and answer last. We have been in business since 1998, and our founder always believed, and all that is good and good for humans, but they eventually get to the actual answer 4 sentences later. I'm asking you to flip it, right? Turn it around. Give the answer first and then the story. Machines and, honestly, busy humans, frankly, read the first sentence. If the answer isn't there, you're lost both audiences, unfortunately. And part three, back it up. One credible, specific detail. Not we have experienced, we are licensed and insured, serving, Fairfax since 2015. Specificity is what makes an AI system trust an answer enough to repeat it. And it's what makes a human trust it enough to buy. So that's the dark box, right? So put those two together, and here's what it actually looks like for, say, a local plumber. The heading is, do you fix plumbing leaks? And right underneath it, yes, same day leak repair, licensed and insured, serving Fairfax since 2015. That's it. That's the whole formula in one real example. Swap in your own service, your own city, and your honest detail. You don't need to redo your whole website, by the way. Pick your 10 most important pages, right? The ones customers actually land on before they buy, and apply this formula there first. Now, let's bring this back to the audit question, because I promised you a concrete checklist, right? So, and someone actually asked, I think before the meeting, before the webinar today, how do you audit your own website? And here are sort of 5 tests you can do. Step number one, the chatbot test I spoke about before, which we already covered. Ask ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity 3 real customer questions and see if you show up and if it's accurate. Step two is the heading test, right? Open your first 5 most important pages. Are your headings phrased as questions, or are they vague, like our services, about us, what we offer? Because remember, vague labels give a machine nothing to match against a customer's question. 3, the first sentence. Test under each heading. Is the actual answer in the first sentence or two, or do you have to read 3 paragraphs to find it? Be honest with yourself here. There is usually, this is usually where businesses lose the most points. 4 is the FAQ test. Do you have a real FAQ? FAQ stands for frequently asked questions. Do you have an FAQ section built from actual questions customers ask you on the phone or over email? Or is it generic filler nobody wrote from real conversations? And last, the who wrote this test. Is there a real name and real credentials attached to your content, or is everything anonymous? AI systems like people trust information more than they know who's vouching for it. So run through those 5 and you'll know exactly where your gaps are. No consultant required to get started. And there are 3 mistakes I see people doing constantly so that you can avoid them. And you're the lucky few who happen to be here today. Keyword stuffing over clarity. That's the first mistake, right? Cramming search terms into a sentence instead of just answering the question naturally. Machines have gotten very good at reading fluency. The same way a human reader can tell when a sentence was written for a robot instead of for them. And oftentimes it backfires, right? So number 2 mistake, writing for a scroll, not a snippet. A long story first page is lovely if you enjoy writing it, like I did while I wrote my book. But if the useful part is buried at the bottom, it's functionally invisible to an answer engine, no matter how good the writing is. And 3, treating it as a one-time project. That's actually the third mistake, right? So the answers AI systems give you change weekly on a week to week by week basis as they recrawl the web, because they're crawling your competitors as well. So a quick 15-minute check once a month, rerun the chatbot test matters far more than one big overhaul that you will never revisit. All right, so let's bring it all together into these 3 things I want you to actually remember walking out of here. Number 1, audit before you act. 10 minutes, 3 questions, 3 AI tools, right? Know where you stand before you change anything. Number 2, answer first, story second. So these are question style headings and the direct answer in the first 2 sentences of every important page. And number 3, specificity beats vague everywhere. Real numbers instead of experienced, real names instead of anonymous content, real FAQs, frequently asked questions, instead of generic filler. That's the thorough line across everything we covered today. It's what earns trust from a machine and a human at the same time. Because at the end of the day, they're asking for the same thing, something concrete they can rely on. Now, I know Lori mentioned a few of you already sent in questions about auditing your site and about schema markup. I tried to fold direct answers to both into this talk, but let's open it up. What questions do you have? And before we do that, I just wanted to leave you with this one slide. If you have more questions, of course, you can reach out to me. These are the two books I talked about. If you are going down this route and want to become an expert, I would start with the AI Visibility Revolution because honestly, it's like a 100-page book, which is easier to read than the AI Visibility Codex Bible, which I created, which is a 500-page book. But with that, I will stop sharing. And Lori, I think you have one more slide you want to share.
Yes, I do. And thank you so much, Naveen. And again, I'm so excited. Oop, I don't know why my video isn't working. Okay. I am so excited and I'm so glad that we had you as a guest speaker. And I really think that, the value that you gave to this audience is so much. So grateful for that. Let me just share the last slide with everyone so that if you have any questions and um, know who to contact, you know what to do. But we're also on camera now so that we can answer questions and, help you and help elevate your success as much as we can. So, Sheila, anything else before we open up the Q&A?
No, we do have a couple questions we can go
Mm,
ahead and go into, and I'll wrap us up at the end. So Lori, we'll start with you. A question came in right at the end of your presentation. The question
mhm.
is, did you say that the content from Claude can automatically feed into your social media tools?
You can do that if you automate it. What I did is, yes, you can do that, but it's going through a whole automation. What I showed in here is the content was created in Claude and the buffer.com platform. I essentially just pulled that information, copied it, and put it into Buffer. So it's not automatic. I'm still that human in the loop that want to review it, and also human in the loop in the case where I copied and pasted it. But yes, there's so many ways that you can do that through agents. I just wanted to showcase what I showcased wasn't that.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, a question for Naveen. So is AEO, is it like SEO optimization?
Actually, yes and no. So it's completely different. SEO used to be the backbone of how you get appeared when somebody searches for you on Google, right? Over the last 25 years. So it's how you rank in traditional organic results. It's the foundation for all other visibility, things like Google and Bing. AEO is all about being the direct answer in featured snippets, AI overviews, and voice search and PAA boxes. People always also ask boxes, like it showed in slide 4, I think is what was being referenced. So, um, I guess if you have an SEO foundation, definitely keep it there. Don't get rid of it. AEO is when you get into the AI age, because like I mentioned, 59% of the searches are directly going to the AI engines. Now, I will add there is one other facet to this called GEO, which is generative engine optimization, whole another ball game, and that's all about being cited and being recommended by generative AI, so ChatGPT, etc. And if you want to really go into detail, I actually combine all these three from SEO, AEO, GEO, and call it the Trinity Framework, which is what is the basis of my book, which you can also take a look at.
Great, thank you. Um, Naveen, I'm going to ask you if you can, do you see the Q&A box? Can you look? There's a
Yeah,
question in here. Do you see the one from Fitsum?
I looking forward to hear. Yeah, I think that's the question I answered. Difference between AEO and I
Okay,
think
yeah, I read the next question, but okay, if you covered that, I just want to make sure.
yeah,
Okay.
I covered that question. Actually, the difference between AEO and there is nothing called CEO. I think you meant SEO or
Okay,
GEO.
that was my
Um,
confusion. Okay, thank
yeah.
you. Let's see. What if, and this one I think is Naveen as well. What if my business website is just one page?
If it's just one page, I would basically base it off of what I just showed you, right? Be specific, give the answers, put an FAQ section, so that the AI systems can actually find it. Now you can also AI SEO optimized it. You can do some, links, etc. But I'm telling you, by tomorrow, AEO would be taking over SEO even by a 0.01 fraction more than today. So if you just have an option of doing one website, make it AEO optimized.
And we have another question that came in. My business is SaaS. SaaS. How does this apply?
Yeah. So over my 25 years, I think 10 of them, 15 of them were spent in SaaS companies. So I used to work for a SaaS company called Automation Anywhere. I also worked at Cisco and Fortinet, but the SaaS portion of that business. So everything I mentioned today, and I think Laurie, you can chime in as well. All of that applies to SaaS. In fact, more through
Mhm.
SaaS, because in SaaS, your product itself is on the web, right? So think about the knowledge base, the documentation that you're putting out there for your product, the schemas that schema in a SaaS is different than schema in SEO, and I can go on and on about this given my engineering background. But um, SaaS is basically software as a service, which for people don't know knowing that, right? So Microsoft 365, Salesforce, many of the CRMs that Laurie mentioned. In fact, the websites that Laurie was showing as well are all SaaS products because they are hosted on the internet. All you need is a browser. So anytime you need a browser, anytime you're talking to a website,
Mhm.
this will apply to you as well.
Great. Thank
How long
you.
does it take in terms of
Yep, you see
hours
that.
and days after optimization to be visible in the search results? Yes. And I'm going to give you an answer which you probably won't like. It depends. It depends on, how much optimization is gone in there, who you're used for your service to actually optimize. I would say typically 60 to 90 days as opposed to 6 to 12 months, which used to happen in the SEO days. So within 60 to 90 days, you should be able to start seeing results immediately. And it's a game, right? Because your competition might also be doing it, so you go up and down.
Great. We don't have any other questions at the moment, so I'm going to put out a last call. We have almost 10 minutes. If anyone has any other questions for Lori or Naveen, please go ahead and ask now because this is your chance to pick their brains. Going to also ask you, I put the help email, help@virginiasbdc.org, into the chat. If you could send us an email and let us know what other AI topics you would be interested in, and if you would like to take a deeper dive into the AI marketing topic, just send us an email and let us know because we want to focus on the topics that interest you most and will help you all most. So while we wait for questions, I'll ask Lori and Naveen, do you have any last words of wisdom?
I'll let
It's
Laurie go
not
first.
last words of wisdom, but I'm curious, since we have the audience here, if in addition to sending the information to help desk, um, to help at virginiasbdc.org, if they can type in what other topics they would like for us to help them, and to serve them better with their businesses. I think that was what was the reason why we went into the AI marketing this time around was from our fundamentals class. We noticed a lot of information, a lot of questions regarding marketing, and that gave us an opportunity to quickly pivot and create a class for you. Again, this is for you, so it gave us a chance to pivot right away and determine, okay, our next session will be about marketing and specifically have a special segment on AEO, which is why I brought Naveen. So this perhaps is a great opportunity for you to put in what is it about your business that you want to learn, again, in relation to AI, so that we can help you more with your business and elevate your business with the sessions that we have in here. So that's
Right. And I'm
Mhm.
sorry, Lori, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
Yeah, go ahead.
there will be a survey that pops up when you exit the webinar, and that's where we pulled the information from last time. So there is an actual box that you'll have the opportunity to put that information in as well, which makes it really easy for you. And we'll pull from there as well. We'll pull from all avenues that we can to make sure
Yeah.
that we are fine-tuning this for you. And we
Uh,
do have a couple more questions that have popped in. Um,
Yeah, Allison had a question if it's okay to make
Yeah,
a
if Naveen, do
front-page
you want to go
model of
ahead and
fun.
read it and answer?
Yeah, so Alison, highly recommended, right, to make your homepage visually appealing and human friendly rather than overwhelming visitors with Q&A form right away. Um, I encourage you to have blogs on your website, which can serve excellent for SEO friendly homes and structured Q&A content. Because remember, at the end of the day, we are humans, and humans do like to see well-designed web pages, etc. Of course, there are some humans who are progressing towards talking to ChatGPT, Claude, etc. So you probably need to do both. So I would encourage you to design your website the way, using the modern UX experience and standards and SEO best practices. All this talk was about was also to include AEO best practices also into your webpage. Hopefully that answers the
Can
question.
I add to that, Naveen and
Yeah.
Sheila? And I think that's brilliant. What Naveen said. To make your website obviously visible, and that's where the branding really comes into place. I know we talked about that earlier during the session, but that's really what the branding is. Is that you have a standard set of way of showing yourself either through the colors and through the headings and so forth, because it becomes more I guess you're sharing the same information, you're being looked at the same way. And not only is it visually, but also your positioning and your value statement, all of those have to come in play. So that visual aspect that Naveen did mention, that's where you're branding. That's that first part that I mentioned, where it's visually appealing, yes, but it's also the visual effects that you want to showcase and present yourself to the world. That is just as critical.
Thank you. And I'll let you two look at the upcoming. There's two other questions in there. If
Yeah.
you want to pick on
Laurie,
who wants to
do you have any
address it.
suggestions, or I
It's
can give?
interesting. I think I can't see anything except what
Oh,
the
okay.
Virginia SBDC
Let me read
is
it out.
showing.
So Fitsum asks
Yeah, it's in
that
the Q&A box. Yeah.
that they find
Ah,
most CRMs are most expensive. Any advice? Um, so I'll give you my
there
advice,
it is.
and I actually created my own CRM. But at the same time, there are CRMs which are pretty
Hmm.
cheap for now. I shouldn't say use the word cheap, frugal. I do have a suggestion, and reach out to me. I can send you the link for that. Laurie, do you have a suggestion on any particular CRM you want to throw out there?
Yeah, the CRM that I have, and again, it depends on what you want. But for me, I have a CRM, and feel free to ask me as well. It works well because I'm a single small business owner, and so the
Yeah.
features, the pricing, and everything that I need at this stage of my business works well for that CRM. Now, when you get into larger enterprises, obviously that's where Salesforce and everything comes into play, but know where you are first and figure out which CRM has every bells and whistles that helps you at this stage of the game and where you want to be in the next 5 years. So again, always pivot, but I do have a CRM that I have and I can send that to you. Unless you want me to put it into the chat, let me know.
And I think Darcy asked, how should we think about website design? Include pages that are only written for machine readers? Will websites stop being human readable and start being viewable content for machines mostly only? Excellent questions, Darcy. We are not in the matrix yet. So today humans do exist. They will continue to exist and thrive. AI is meant as a tool for us to use, not the other way around. And those tools, unfortunately, also include ChatGPT, Claude, and Perplexity. So they also need to be a way to figure out the exact answer, right? So the answer to your question is no. I don't think we are there yet, where only AI readable websites are required. As we go into agentic, as we move beyond 2026 to 2027, as agents are talking to each other and figuring out things before even reaching out to humans, that's where AEO, GEO becomes more and more and more important. But as the human, if I am trying to sign up for somebody's service, I will still go to the website and see what they're made of, right? I may use ChatGPT and Claude to verify my results and use them as a sparring partner, but I think you need to do both, unfortunately, for now.
Great. I'm going to go ahead and drop, people are asking for that CRM. I'll go ahead and drop that into the chat for you, Lori. And I think otherwise, does it look like we've covered the questions, Lori and Naveen?
Let
Yeah,
me double
questions are done
check.
for
It
now.
looks like it.
Appreciate the thanks, Fitsum, and Good luck
Okay.
with your new website and everything. Hope everything works out.
Yeah. Well,
Great.
we hope you found this valuable, and thank you, Naveen, for being our special guest, and you added a lot of value to the series that we have, and we hope that you all have benefited from this, and really the series is helping you elevate your business, because that is the goal that we want for you to succeed in your business with the information that we're sharing with you.
I agree. Lori and Naveen, thank you both so much for all this wonderful information. And I want to thank everyone who did join us today. Remind you, you will receive an email with a link to both the recording and to the slides. If you would like to sign up for upcoming webinars or access recorded webinars, please visit virginiasbdc.org/training. This webinar and other SBD resources are designed to be used in collaboration with your local SBDC advisors. You can sign up for a free and confidential session by emailing help@virginiasbdc.org or via our website. And I just want to put one more reminder: when you exit this webinar, please fill out our survey so we can help to help us better serve you in the future. And we do hope to see you all at our next session. Take care, everyone.